last section, we got our employee list working so we can see all the different employees we've created for our app. We should, of course, be able to be able to tap on a given user and navigate to that screen so we can see more details about them. So let's work on that next. We've handled navigation several times in a row now, so I bet you've got a pretty good idea of what to expect. We want to call our actions helper from the router whenever a user taps on an individual row. Now, of course, we've done something like this before, back when we were building lists previously. So in my list item component, I'm going to import the touchable without feedback and the view tags. And then inside of my render method, I'll add on the touchable without feedback, a view tag, and then I'm going to close both of those off. So there's the card section. I'll close off the view. And I'll close off the touchable without feedback. That looks good. And now we need to add an on-press handler to touchable without feedback. So whenever we tap this thing, we're gonna do some work, right? We got a callback in here somewhere. So I'll pass this an on-press handler. And I'm gonna call it, how about on-row press? And I'll bind it to this. Next, we'll define the method on the class. So on row press. And then presumably in here, we're going to want to do our actual navigation. So we haven't imported actions yet, but we will in just a second. So I'm going to show, let's double check on what that key was for that form that we're using. So I'm going to open up the router. Whenever we are on the employee list, we are on a key of employee list. And then when we want to go over to that form, we're going to go to employee create. So we're going to go to actions.employee create. Lastly, I need to import the actions object from our favorite named library out there, React Native Router Flux. Got it the first time. Fantastic. Okay, let's do a little bit of testing. And just so you know, I'm kind of driving towards a point here. This is going to be a little bit more challenging, a little bit more interesting than what you might think. This is going to be one of the last big challenges we have to confront in this application. Okay, so I just signed in. Here's my list of employees. Now I'm going to tap on an employee, and I go to the employee create form. When we get here, however, the form doesn't seem to have any details related to the employee I just tapped on. Remember, we're using this form as kind of a show and edit. So we don't really specifically have like a show route or a show screen where we're just going to show an employee. We've only got the concept of like editing our employee. And that's just because that's how I had designed the app, right? Like I want to show the edit form here and then like a save changes, a fire, and a text button down at the bottom as well. That was the idea here. So I click on an employee and we get the form, but there's no details related to that employee. And of course there's no details. Why would there be, right? We've got our employee form reducer that is 100% in control of this form right here. And we have done nothing whatsoever to tell that reducer, hey, please make use of this employee. I just tapped on the employee, make sure that the form reflects that employee's attributes, all that kind of stuff. We have done nothing around that. All we did was tell the navigator to show this form. So we can't have any expectation that anything is just going to magically happen here for us. So what we really want to have happen is we want to somehow instruct the employee form that whenever it loads up, and when I say employee form, I'm talking about employee create, of course. We want to tell employee create that whenever it loads up, it should be showing a very particular employee. So we kind of want to bootstrap the form, so to speak. We want to preload the data that it shows. Now we could use an action creator to set a like selected employee or something like that. Maybe we could select a particular employee and say, hey, the form reducer should always show either the stuff in the form or the selected employee. Yeah, that's just getting like a little bit weird. So let's go with the route of kind of like what I keep wanting to say hijack, but no, bootstrap. There we go. We're trying to bootstrap this form. I want to kind of inject my employee into it. So inside of my actions.employeeCreate method right here, I need to somehow communicate to the form which employee I want to show, right? That's like the whole idea here. I want to somehow tell it, hey, form, you need to be showing this very particular employee, right? To do so, we are going to pass some props over to the employee create form with this navigation helper right here. So we can pass any object we want in here. I'm going to pass an object with the key of employee and a value of this.props.employee. Now, whenever this navigation method is called, the employee create form will be rendered and it will be given an additional prop of employee. We are in the list item right now, and each list item is called with one employee, which is provided as this.props.employee. So that's where this value is coming from right here. So let's test this out a little bit. I want to flip over to the employee create form now. So I'm going to go to employee create, and inside the render method, I'm just going to console log this.props.employee, like so. So let's do a quick refresh. I'll pull up my console. I'll log in. Oops. And now if I just go ahead and hit add up on the top right, you're going to see undefined because we went to the form and we did not pass any like configuration directly to the form. Only when we navigate to this form by tapping on an item are we passing this extra prop to it. So now I'm going to click on Samantha to go to the form, and then this time around I get the very particular employee in here as well. So now we are loading up our form and we know which employee we want to show in it. We know which employee we want to kind of pre-fill these different fields with. So let's figure out how to do that pre-filling in the next section.